My initial thought on the 2080 especially was like, what are we doing in video? We already have 1080 Ti performance for about $700. What do we want it for at $800 or $900? Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another video from JP Tech. In this video, we're going to talk Geforce RTX. And what that means is we're going to be talking about the 2080 and the 2080 Ti, and we're going to be comparing those to the GTX 1080 Ti. Why am I comparing those to the 1080 Ti? Well, I'm doing that because the 2080 and 2080 Ti are flagship gaming cards, and I think that the 1080 Ti is the best value flagship card to compare them to. So let's go ahead and dig into this. I want to start out and let you know that I don't have these cards on hand because I'm just not that big of a tech channel yet, and if anything, maybe someday I'll buy one so that we can do some testing on the channel the way that I like to do it. But for now, I'm relying on the data that's available based on other reviewers. And I noticed that everybody kind of has come up with much of the same results so far when it comes to the RTX cards. So what I did is I went on Guru of 3D, and I'm using their Founders Edition benchmarks, and I took about 10 games and I averaged the results at QHD and UHD for all three cards that I already mentioned. And I did this so that we can look at performance differences between each card and compare that to the value differences between each card. And so what I found using their results is that the 2080 has a 7% advantage at QHD resolution over the 1080 Ti, averaged over 10 games. And really what this means is that some games the 2080 is better, and some games it's actually worse than the 1080 Ti. And what I also found is that at UHD 4K, the 2080 has a 6% advantage over the 1080 Ti. And when we're talking about the 2080 Ti, I found that it has a 27% advantage over the 10 games at QHD, and interestingly, it has a 35% advantage at 4K. So the 2080 on initial results doesn't look too impressive in traditional rasterized gaming benchmarks. The 2080 Ti does look impressive, but it comes at a price. So let's go ahead and talk about the price of these cards right now. So when I looked on Newegg, I took the cheapest that I could of each card and not necessarily kept it to the same brand of card, because we are going to do this based on whoever's just trying to get the cheapest version of these cards that has a 3-fan cooler. What I found is the MSI Duke 1080 Ti is going for $650 right now on Newegg, and it has a rebate to get it cheaper, but I'm not including the rebates because I know that most people don't really care about rebates. But if you do, I think it's like $630 after a $20 rebate. But moving on, the Gigabyte 3-fan model, I forget which one it is, I found for $789.99 on Newegg, in stock, ready to buy. And then I found the Zotac 3-fan cooler again, 2080 Ti, and this one's going for $1169.99. But a little disclaimer with this is that the 2080 Ti cards were delayed, so this price may or may not be the case when people actually are able to buy these cards. But with that pricing information, I learned that cheapest card to cheapest card, the 2080 is 22% more expensive than a 1080 Ti, and the 2080 Ti is a whopping 80% more expensive than a 1080 Ti, which is just crazy. Like, it's just insane, because our 10 game benchmarks, thanks to Guru of 3D, shows us that at QHD we're only getting 25% increase, and at UHD we're getting 35%. Is that worth an 80% price increase? cheapest video card to cheapest video card. I don't know. I think that's up to you guys. And looking at the 2080, based on what we know right now, we can't use the other hardware, the other pieces of hardware that these RTX include. That means we're not taking advantage of RT cores right now. We're not taking advantage of even Tensor Cores at this point. So we have pieces of these cards right now that aren't being used, and they're making the value proposition not look very good. And really what that means, in my opinion, is if you can't use them right now and the prices on these cards are up, it means you should probably wait. Because in the months to come, I think we're going to see a price decline on these cards, and we're also going to see an increase in games that we're able to use these new features on. So there's really no point in running out and buying these cards right now, and in fact the only one you can get right now is the 2080, because it's not doing anything special at this point. By the time it can use the Tensor Cores for deep learning super sampling, DLSS, I think it will have more of a performance uptake over the 1080 Ti at that point, when comparing the 1080 Ti using more traditional AA. So, but we'll just have to wait and see, because right now it's just, we're really basing that off of like Final Fantasy DLSS benchmarks and, hopes and dreams at this point, because we don't really have much to base it off of, because there's nothing that we can currently run, RTX on or DLSS. So that's my initial take on this. Another thing to note is, there is some value in the RT cores and Tensor Cores, but let's talk about the RT cores specifically. Most of the games, if you look into the games that are going to be incorporating ray tracing in the future, a lot of them, like Metro Exodus, that comes out I think in February of 19, it's wrapping its performance around 1080p. I don't want to buy a $1,200 card to play at 1080 resolution. And this is a theme that's seen on a lot of these new ray tracing games that come out. I encourage everyone to not only take my word for it, but go ahead and research the ray tracing game development right now. I think it's great that these cards are introducing a new technology, but I think NVIDIA was like really quick to do it and to do it first before anybody else. And I think that what we're getting is we're getting ray tracing in its infancy, and that's not really a good thing. That means that we're getting basically an eye candy feature that isn't realistic for high refresh gamers, more than likely, and it's not realistic for people that want to play at 4K. So really it's just like, it's a thing that we're probably going to see more of in the future, but right now it's kind of niche. And to me, it's just not worth it. So the RT cores, to me personally, I'm not like overly excited about them. I think some of the demos are exciting and everything, but I want to see what actual game performance looks like, and that's not going to happen until the Windows Fall update comes out, which enables DXR on DirectX 12, which enables ray tracing. So more of the reason to wait. If you're excited about ray tracing, don't get your card now and wait for ray tracing to come out. Just get your card when ray tracing games are actually out, because you're probably going to get the card at a cheaper price. You're probably going to have drivers that are starting to already enable more performance out of the cards. Right now we're just looking at release drivers, which they're just not they're probably not releasing the most performance out of this hardware. And really right now you're going to pay a big premium for even a 2080, and you're just not going to get the performance return. And in some games you're going to be getting less performance than a 1080 Ti. And to me personally, that's kind of an upset. I think that's all going to change when the Tensor Cores can use DLSS, and we'll see if that's going to be just newer games that get it, or if it's something you can turn on the NVIDIA control panel at some point and use on all games. We're just going to have to see how that goes. But if DLSS is only game enabled and that is the only thing that allows the 2080 to, you know, leave the 1080 Ti in performance, that's just not worth it to me. That's only going to be like a on, you know, per game basis, and a lot of the smaller titles that a lot of people want to play probably aren't going to include it. So, you know, as far as my talking about DLSS, this is just kind of my opinion on what I think about it. You know, maybe what we can expect or not. These are definitely my opinions. These are not fact. And it's just me trying to figure out the value of these cards. The Tensor Cores can also be used for other things in the future, and they can also be used for productivity. There is a good amount of productivity value to these RTX cards, and if you're a productivity user, I think you might want to see if the RTX cards make sense for you. But really right now we're just talking about the RTX as a gaming card because that's what it's primarily being sold as. And really right now I think that you should just wait it out. Just, you know, I really hope that the benchmarks of the 20 series cards and the release of the 20 series cards, I really was hoping that it would help bring clarity to anybody that's trying to buy a video card right now, and that it would bring prices down. But it's really not, because NVIDIA slotted these cards so that they just stack on top of existing prices. So they're not really doing much for bringing the 1080 Ti down, at least not yet. You know, it's only maybe a little bit, and it's not really bringing like the 1080 and the 1070 Ti and 1070 and all that. It's not bringing those prices down yet. So personally, I would wait it out, because I think that the 2070 is going to cause a shift in the market, and you know, I think by the time we get the DirectX 12 update, we need to use ray tracing, and I think some of these cards are going to start going down in price in the next few months, and probably by the holiday season we might be looking at more like those initial launch prices that NVIDIA was teasing us with, of, you know, $700 and $1,000. You know, and on the 2080 Ti side, that might be a little expensive still, but it's a lot better than $1,200. I could say that. And you know, I myself might be more enticed to buy at $1,000, but $1,200, I just don't know. And personally, I like the Asus cards, and like a 2080 Strix right now, I think is like $869. Like, that's just a lot of money for a 2080. So something to consider. I just wanted to run some of this information by you guys, let you know what I thought about the RTX cards, kind of discuss a little bit about it with you guys. You know, my initial thought on the 2080 especially was like, what are we doing, NVIDIA? We already have 1080 Ti performance for about $700. What do we want it for at $800 or $900? Like, why? You know, so I think there will be some improvement though. I think the Tensor Cores are going to have some value, and ray tracing, we're just going to have to wait and see, folks. Like, I'm not holding my breath right now. I think it's just going to be a neat visualization thing to experience if you own an RTX card, but otherwise, whatever. I don't think it's going to line up with the way I like to high refresh game, and I don't think it's going to line up with people that like the 4K game. So that kind of puts it in its own niche right now. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit like. If you want to see more from JP Tech, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you guys around.